Hey everybody, I believe I'm live. I'm just going to pull this up on my personal Facebook page or my Facebook page so that I can watch what I'm saying. And I can see if anybody's here. I'm doing this from my computer. Oh, look, there I am. Let me press on this. All right. So I've got this backup, not this tremendous backup, but this backup of blog posts that I want to get to. Oh, and I don't even have my mic on that's fine. And so I wanted to record this quick video, go on live and answer some of these questions and see if anybody wants to come and join me. I have a little bit of time. So we're going to get through as many of these as we can. Now let me head over to this page. And basically, we're going to start with a question from somebody who posted, I have this post, top 9 danger signs of a relationship in trouble and what you can do about them. If you don't know me, I'm Genevieve Cadell. I'm a psychologist. I'm also an integrative coach, and I work with entrepreneurs. And my whole thing is about living our best lives possible. I know that's very broad, right? But relationships are a part of that. And I have a whole business around relationships as well. I'm a couples therapist, and and I help people with relationships. So my website is mybestrelationship.com, where you can find a whole bunch of posts and, advice on how to create your best relationship. And that's what today's showcase is all about. So let's see. I'm going to get right into it. If you're here joining me live, I cannot see you right now because I'm about to read a comment from this lovely person on my blog. And then I will come catch you in a few. All right, so here's what she writes. And this is in response to the top 9 danger signs of a relationship in trouble and what you can do about them. We have been on and off for 5 years. We were 18 when we started dating, so we were very young, and we have had a lot of growing up to do and finding our ways. This is our 3rd true time of trying things again, and after experience different relationships with seemingly truly wonderful other men, I constantly found myself still wanting to be with him. I loved him. Lately, when he drinks, we argue, and he's not very kind. He gets annoyed when we speak on the phone, but will text me all day. He doesn't do the little things like showing up at my work or going to lunch with me. He gets annoyed very easily. I will never, ever criticize him or what he does all day or for a living. You just did, by the way. But when he hurts my feelings, I tell him, and he constantly responds with, "See, we always fight," or "You're always telling me what I do wrong." He's so very passive, and I like to address things. Is this a hopeless partnership? It's interesting because one way of looking at relationships is that they are a mirror of ourselves, right? And so I know you're looking for help and you want to, be active and address things and fix this, because clearly you're not in a good place with him. It sounds like he's kind of negative. You're having a hard time about it, and you're saying, well, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. I mean, you are kind of criticizing him in a way, right? Even though you're saying you're not. And I'm not saying this to criticize you. I'm just telling you what I see here. So in some ways, you're also saying that he's very passive and you like to address things, but yet you're posting this comment on a blog. And so what I want you to do is to be able to address this with him more upfront and be more direct with him and take a bigger stand for yourself and for your desires and for what you want in a relationship, because far too often we will get what we settle for. Okay, so I'm not saying all this to be like mean, like, oh, you need to, no. I don't mean that at all. I'm trying to tell you this so that you can feel more, I don't know if in control is the word, but more like you have more of an authority here. Not authority, but you've got more power here in this situation than you're giving yourself credit for, right? So if things are not good, if he's drinking and getting angry and, arguing, and he's, annoyed all the time, and you're not feeling good about this, then you've got to take a stand for something better. And as long as you continue to kind of like just try to tolerate it, I think that you're going to, I don't think it's a hopeless partnership necessarily, but you're not going to be happy, right? So if you want to have a better relationship, I would invite you to ask him, to tell him, to be very clear about it. Not like you're hurting my feelings, but this, this isn't working for me the way things are. I don't mean in like this relationship isn't working for me, but the way things are isn't working for me. We need to figure this out, right? And so maybe that means reaching out for professional help together. Maybe that means, saying, asking him, how can I be a better partner to you? It feels like you're always annoyed. What's going on? What's that about, right? That's my advice to this question. I don't know if that's helpful or not. I'm going to just hop on over to the live and see if anybody has comments or questions. Sometimes it doesn't come in. Thank you for joining me. If you're here, give me a shout. I don't have any comments here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to the next question. So again, let me know if that's helpful at all. But again, the main point, the main takeaway here, and this is true with every part of our lives, is that you often get what you settle for. So quit settling. And I don't mean you're settling for him necessarily, because it sounds like you obviously want the relationship to work. But part of relationships, part of why they're so much fun to work with is because our partners challenge us and we challenge them to show up differently. And we need to ask more of each other and more of ourselves. And so, you also have to be willing to risk letting go of something in order to get the next level. So that might mean letting go of him. I know for you, hopefully it means letting go of this old pattern and letting go of the way things are and inviting a new kind of relationship meeting with him in. But sometimes that might mean being willing to let go of your partner himself. I hope that's helpful. All right. Second question, this is in response to the post, 3 steps to convince your partner to join you in couples therapy. Somebody writes in, my boyfriend just doesn't want to go because he doesn't like the idea of sharing personal stuff with some stranger. Even though I told him they are very secretive. He told me he just doesn't like it, and I shouldn't bring it up again, just because he doesn't want to. How should I convince him? I believe we really need it at this point. I'm going to give you the same advice to the person that just wrote in about you get what you settle for. And so if things are going really poorly in your relationship or not as well as you'd like them to, and you believe that professional help is the answer and you need it, I would advise you to, if, again, you get what you often get what you tolerate, right? So I would bring up the issues with him and say, look, here are the issues that I'm having. Here's my solution, couples therapy. And I will tell you, you can share this with him. It's actually like therapists can go to jail if they share confidential information with other people. So he is safe. I mean, that sounds like that might be an excuse. And look, it is a challenge to share personal stuff with a stranger. You can say, look, whatever we can do. I mean, if that's the real issue, it sounds like that might be an excuse because he just doesn't want to go. But, you can say, hey, you can pick the person. We can get on the phone with the person. We can make sure you're comfortable with them. I want to do this for us, right? If he absolutely refuses, what kind of suggestions does he have? Because this is not working for you. And if he doesn't have any solutions or any, not that he needs a solution, but any suggestions of how to kind of look at this, how to improve it together, that's something that you need to look at, right? You get what you settle for. I'm not saying all these dudes are not worth working on things with, but if they don't really bend and you just try to make them bend, you get what you settle for. That's the overarching theme of the day. So how do you convince him? Maybe you don't. Maybe you need to say, well, look, this isn't working for me. And you have to really be willing to let things go. You have to be willing to let things go in order to make room for something better. This is true in every area of your life. It's very true in your relationship as well. So I hope that's helpful. I'm not saying this to tell him as an ultimatum, like, we got to end this, or you got to go to couples therapy or else we're ending things. But it is something to think about. So that's what I have to share with you. I hope that's helpful. Let me know if you're watching this and and it is helpful or not. So, all right, let's go to the next question here. What not to do. This is in response to the post, what not to do when you're having relationship problems. And basically what the post said was, don't share it with everybody all over the world. Okay. Don't talk about your problems with everybody else. Don't complain about your partner. Don't bond with people over how much of an asshole your partner is, because that's just not good. Right. Here's what the person writes in. We have really messed up. We were having major issues for a few years. In mid-2015, I confided in friends. Okay. At first, just my closest girlfriend, then my small friend group. We got back together, but then last year things went really bad. I was sure I wanted a divorce, and I even moved out last spring. He talks poorly about me to his family and friends, too. We are trying to reconcile now. We know it will take a long time and aren't trying to jump back in. We're going to maintain our separate residences too, but I'm afraid of how people will take it. I told my mom and my dad that I'm unsure about the divorce and they're being supportive. I am very worried about telling my kids. We are a step family. I have 2 and he has 3. The 4 oldest kids are 16, 16, 17, and 18. So maybe it makes sense to wait and fully reconcile when the youngest hit 18. And when you say fully reconcile, she means move back in together again. But even if we don't get back together until they are young adults, won't they be affected? I included them far too much when things were really bad, and he and I fought so much in front of them. My stepkids live out of state, so everything going bad has likely had slightly less of an effect on them. All right, so I've got a couple things to say about this. The second part is more important, but the first part is that if you're worried about what other people will take this, whenever we're worried about how other people are gonna, think of us or that sort of thing, a good way to think about this is to ask yourself how you feel about it. If you are totally 100% confident, sure, empowered, like totally on point with this, you're going to care less about what other people think. It just doesn't matter as much. If you are reconciling this with your partner, you guys need to unite as a team, and this needs to be front and center for you. I recognize it may feel like an uphill battle, but if you both are determined to make this work, you both really want this, you're committed to, again, I would enlist some help, some support. You've got this, right? What other people think is not your issue. So if it is your issue, that means that there may be some uncertainties that you're still wrestling with yourself. So I would invite you to get really, really clear on that and ask yourself, what am I unsure of? And look, you're taking with anything, with any big decision, it often is a leap of faith. It can feel uncertain. You may not know, completely how to handle it, right? But that's the first piece I want to say. In terms of your kids and the stepkids as well, this is a really beautiful, so first of all, again, this is not professional advice, right? You should deal with professionals. I am a professional, but we don't know each other, obviously. But in terms of waiting till like the 16-year-old turns 18, it doesn't, between 16 and 18, I'm sorry, it doesn't really matter that much, okay? But this is a beautiful opportunity for you to show and to teach them the lesson of forgiveness, which is one of the biggest lessons that any of us, one of the biggest lessons that any of us can ever learn. And so I really, you guys, you and your partner need to forgive each other. You need to forgive yourself. And you need to model that for your kids. And I think it's often, sometimes, what's this phrase, the biggest problems, I'm not going to quote Rumi or anything, but how the everybody has the quote about how, the darkness is where the light is and our cracks are where the light enters. This is actually, I know this may sound like all silver lining pie in the sky stuff, and it may feel really difficult for you, but it does sound like this is a beautiful opportunity to just let things go as they feel right and allow you and your partner to model forgiveness for these kids, because it's something that we all need to learn. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. So start with yourself, though. Start forgiving yourself. Start forgiving each other, and you'll see it. You'll see it ripple out as well. So I hope that's helpful. I'm just going to pop over to live again. Nobody's commenting. I'm not really interacting with people. So that's why. All right. I don't see you. All right. Well, I'm going to just answer 2 more, and then I'm going to hop off because I have something in just a few minutes. All right. So feeling invisible to your partner, here's what to do. This is a really popular post of mine. I have 55, 56, something like that, comments on it. And I basically say, sometimes when people feel invisible, in a relationship, what you do is you turn things up and you get louder and you get more hostile and aggressive, and that just turns and pushes your partner away. Katie writes, sometimes, in all honesty, you are just with a loser. And that may be true as well. And again, look, loser is a tough word, right? Let's all be, kumbaya, but maybe you're not with the right person. Maybe that has to do with it as well. Yes. Amen. For sure. All right. One more from that same post, feeling invisible to your partner. Here's what to do. I need advice. I've been with my partner for 8 years. He has always been selfish and wants to live the single life, but have a family. We have 4 children altogether. We have 1 together. But in October last year, I found out that he cheated on me. That was just a couple months ago, I think. I put him out, then let him back. He does spend a lot of time away from us, out with his friends and brothers. It's nights here and there, reaching 4 and 5 nights away at a time. He promised me he wouldn't go out much this year. That's not happening. He is basically out every month at some point. I also found out the other day he booked a holiday in September for him and a friend for 4 days, and he never told me when he did. He still tried to lie and said his friends booked it that day. I asked him to choose between holiday and us, and he said he couldn't choose. Every time I think about it, it makes me angry. I don't know what to do. Your anger is there for a reason. All of our emotions serve a purpose. They are all there for a reason. And what anger usually is a result of, if it's primary anger, and it could be other things as well, but let's just say it's real anger that you're feeling, it's because your boundaries are being violated. And clearly, if you're being cheated on, if he's, if you're not necessarily like front and center for your partner, as I believe partners should be to each other, mostly, like up there, like top 1 or 2, that's not something that you want, right? And so you don't know what to do. You guys need some help. If you want to have a really solid relationship, this doesn't sound like one from what you're describing. So I would advise you to believe that you can have a better relationship than this. I'm not saying you have to leave him, and this, I'm going to refer to what I said earlier in this video about some of the other comments and posts, which is that you get what you settle for, you get what you tolerate. So you need to raise the bar here. You need to raise the bar for yourself. You need to raise the bar for him. You need to be very clear, like, this isn't working for me, and here's what we could do about it. Or you need to be willing to let go to make room for something else, okay? Again, I'm not saying you need to run, you need to, divorce, you need to leave. I am saying you need to divorce the kind of relationship that you have where, it just doesn't sound like it's the kind of relationship you want. So you need to get clear what it is that you want, and it is so possible to have a relationship where you're both connected and you're a priority to each other and you care about each other. But you have to start by getting clear that that's what you really want, and refuse to settle for anything else or anything less than that. I hope that's helpful. A lot of these things are very complicated in that there are so many layers of emotions, and it does take a leap of faith sometimes to ask for more. But you can, and I would advise anybody who's watching to get some good professional help as well, because it can go a long way. So that's what I got for you guys. Thank you for joining me. I like to do this live just in case I catch anybody. I'm going to end, and have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you later.